Good evening and Salam Ibu Pertiwiku. You're now watching the World News on TV Sarawak. German Chancellor Angela Merkel today renewed her calls for a peaceful resolution to the unrest in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong protests have overshadowed a three-day trip which Merkel had planned to use to press for greater access to Chinese markets for German businesses suffering a slowdown at home. After talks with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang, Merkel said Beijing had listened to her views. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam announced concessions this week to try to end the protests, including formally scrapping a hugely unpopular extradition bill, but many said these were too little, too late. Hong Kong police today checked people traveling to the airport for passports and air tickets, preventing protesters gathering for another stress test of road and rail links in the Chinese-ruled city. The increased scrutiny was aimed at avoiding the chaos of last weekend when protesters blocked airport approach roads, threw debris on the train tracks, and trashed the MTR subway station in the nearby new town of Tung Chung. There were some cat-and-mouse standoffs between protesters and police in Tung Chung as night fell on Saturday, but no sign of a return to violence. 3 months of protests have at times paralyzed parts of the city amid running street battles between protesters and police, who have responded with tear gas, pepper spray, and water cannon. Violent arrests of protesters have drawn international attention. U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper today said that while it was seeking a political agreement with the Taliban, the U.S. would not accept just any deal after a wave of violence cast a shadow over its talks with the insurgent group. Afghan leaders have been increasingly critical of the apparent draft deal reached between the U.S. Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad and Taliban representatives in Doha this week as the violence has escalated. Under the draft accord with the Taliban, thousands of U.S. troops would be withdrawn over the coming months in exchange for guarantees that Afghanistan would not be used as a base for militant attacks on the United States and its allies. However, according to the agreement, a full peace agreement to end more than 18 years of war would depend on subsequent intra-Afghan talks. Taliban have rejected calls for a ceasefire and instead stepped up operations across the country. Well, that's all the news updates for today. Thank you for watching. I am Razi Ahmad, signing off.